Most Americans are still chasing a ghost. They call it the six-figure dream. They've been conditioned to believe that hitting that $100,000 milestone is the moment the air gets clearer and the stress finally stops. They think it's the magic number that buys the house in the suburbs, the reliable SUV, and the peace of mind we were all promised back in grade school. But if you're listening to this, and you've actually crossed that threshold, you already know the cold reality. You've realized that in 2025, $100,000 is no longer a wealth milestone. It's the baseline entry fee for a fragile, middle-class existence. If you're earning six figures and you still feel like you're drowning, if you're hesitating at the checkout line or losing sleep over a $300 car repair, I'm here to tell you that you aren't failing. You aren't bad with money. You're just trapped in a mathematical equation that was rewritten while you were busy working 40+ hours a week. My name is Bond. I don't sell hustle culture, and I'm not here to tell you to skip your morning coffee to become a millionaire. I'm here to perform a forensic audit on the modern American life. We are going to strip away the gross income fantasy and look at the net reality. We're going to discuss why a raise in this country often feels like a pay cut, and why your corporate title is usually just a set of golden handcuffs designed to keep you sprinting on a treadmill that never ends. The system wins when you stay silent. It wins when you feel too ashamed of your bank balance to realize that the game itself is rigged. Most people will watch this, feel a spark of recognition, and then go right back to the treadmill. But a few will decide they've had enough of the gaslighting. If you're one of the few who prefers the uncomfortable truth over a comfortable lie, you might want to subscribe and join this audit. It's the only way to ensure you don't lose track of the exits while you're stuck in the maze. We're about to dive into the numbers that your HR department and your bank hope you never calculate. We're going to look at exactly where that $100,000 goes before you even get a chance to breathe. Welcome to the audit. Let's look at the first leak in the bucket. Let's talk about a typical Tuesday. You're driving home in a car that's maybe a few years older than you'd like, sitting in traffic that seems to get longer every month. Your brain is fried from 8 hours of collaboration and deliverables. You're physically exhausted, but more than that, you're cognitively bankrupt. You pull into your driveway, and before you even turn off the engine, you check your email one last time. It's a reflex now, a nervous tick. You walk through the door, and the first thing you see isn't your family. It's the pile of mail on the counter. Bills, property tax assessments, a notice from your health insurance company telling you that a routine checkup wasn't as covered as you thought. You're hungry, but the idea of standing over a stove for 45 minutes feels like a marathon you aren't trained for. So, you open an app. You pay $35 for $20 worth of food, plus a delivery fee, a service fee, and a tip for a driver who's just as tired as you are. This is the contradiction of the modern high earner. You make enough money to be considered successful by 1995 standards, yet you have less free time than a medieval peasant. You've traded your vitality for a salary that seems to evaporate the moment it hits your account. And here is where the gaslighting gets worse. When you express this frustration, the internet gurus tell you to budget harder. They tell you to track your spending on paper towels or stop buying avocado toast. They focus on the $3 leaks while ignoring the $3,000 floods. They want you to believe that your financial suffocation is a personal failure of discipline, rather than a logical outcome of a broken system. The math doesn't make sense because the cost of being normal has exploded. In the 1970s, a single income could buy a home, a car, and a college education for 3 kids. Today, 2 six-figure incomes struggle to secure a mortgage in a zip code with a decent school district. You are working twice as hard to buy half as much. You aren't struggling because you're buying lattes. You're struggling because your fixed costs the things you literally cannot avoid if you want to participate in society, have been weaponized against you. Housing, healthcare, and education have outpaced your wage growth by 400% over the last few decades. You feel like you're running in place because you are. You've been sold a version of life that is fundamentally unaffordable, even at $100,000 a year. You are house rich, cash poor, and time bankrupt. In the next section, we're going to stop talking about feelings and start talking about forensic accounting. We are going to take that $100,000 salary and run it through the shredder of American reality. We're going to look at the taxes, the hidden fees, and the cost of exhaustion that your bank statement doesn't have a category for. We're going to find out exactly why your six-figure paycheck feels like a four-figure struggle. Let's stop talking in abstractions and start talking in cold, hard math. We're going to perform a forensic audit on a standard $100,000 salary in a mid to high cost of living American city. This isn't the math they taught you in high school economics. This is the math of survival. First, the gross number, $100,000. It looks great on a job offer letter. But before a single cent hits your bank account, the IRS and your state government step in. Depending on where you live, you're looking at a combined tax hit of about 25 to 30%. Suddenly, your $8,300 a month is actually $6,200. Now let's talk about the big three: housing, healthcare, and transportation. In a decent school district, your mortgage or rent, plus insurance and property taxes, is going to eat at least $2,800. Your gold tier health insurance, which still has a $5,000 deductible, is another $500. Then there's the car. The average monthly payment for a new vehicle in America is now over $700. Add insurance and gas, and you're at $1,000. Before you've even bought a loaf of bread or a gallon of milk, your $6,200 has shrunk to $1,900. But here is where the invisible leaks happen. Because you work 50 hours a week to earn that six-figure title, you are physically and mentally taxed. You pay the convenience tax. You don't have the time to compare grocery prices, so you spend an extra $300 a month on whatever is closest. You don't have the energy to meal prep, so you spend another $600 on takeout just to keep your family fed. By the time you pay for electricity, water, internet, and that 15-year-old car's maintenance, you are left with maybe $400 of discretionary income. That's about $13 a day. $13. That's the profit of a $100,000 career. You're essentially running a high-revenue, zero-margin business where you are the only employee. You aren't building an empire. You're just a highly paid janitor cleaning up the mess of your own exhausted lifestyle. It's at this point in the calculation that most people start to feel a tightening in their chest. It's the realization that you've been running a race you were never designed to win. If you're starting to see the invisible equations that keep most of the country in a state of perpetual anxiety, you're becoming part of a very small group of people who actually understand the mechanics of the game. If you find value in these audits and want to be here when we break down the next layer of the system, hitting that subscribe button is how you ensure the algorithm keeps you in the loop. I'm not here to grow a channel. I'm here to build a community of people who refuse to be gaslit by the numbers. The reason this feels so heavy is because of the systemic villain. You see, from 1970 to now, the cost of big screen TVs and toys has plummeted. But the things you actually need to build a future, housing, education, and medical care, have skyrocketed by hundreds of % relative to your wages. The system wants you to focus on the cheap TVs and the latte factor so you don't notice that the floor under your feet is being pulled away. They want you to blame your Netflix subscription for your lack of a down payment. They want you to believe this is a personal failure so you don't realize it's a design feature. You are being paper rich, but time poor. You have a six-figure salary, but you have zero margin for error. One check engine light, one dental emergency, or one minor layoff, and the whole facade crumbles. This isn't an accident, it's a design. And in the next section, we're going to talk about the psychological toll of this golden handcuff trap, and why your brain is literally being rewired to stay in the race. Beyond the bank statements and the spreadsheet cells, there is a much darker cost to the $100,000 trap. It's the psychological tax that the system collects from you every single morning. We call it decision fatigue, but in reality, it's a slow-motion erosion of your autonomy. When you live at the edge of your income, even at six figures, your brain is constantly running a background program. It's a low-level survival mode that scans for threats. You aren't thinking about your legacy or your long-term creative projects. You're thinking about the timing of your next mortgage payment versus your next direct deposit. This mental load reduces your IQ by an average of 13 points. You aren't just tired. You are literally less capable of making good decisions because your bandwidth is being consumed by the stress of maintaining a lifestyle that was sold to you as success. This is the arrival fallacy. You spent years believing that once you hit the six-figure mark, you would finally arrive at a place of peace. You thought you would have margin, that beautiful, empty space in your life where you can breathe, think, and exist without a deadline. But instead, you found that the more you earn, the more the system demands from you. You upgraded your car, you moved into the better neighborhood, and all you did was increase the stakes of your own failure. You are now wearing golden handcuffs. You hate the meetings, you despise the corporate politics, and you're physically repulsed by the Sunday night dread that hits your stomach at 6 p.m. But you can't walk away, because the monster you've built, the lifestyle, needs to be fed. You've traded your margin for status, and now you're realizing that status is a very poor substitute for freedom. Think about the opportunity cost of stress. When you spend your evenings decompressing with mindless scrolling or expensive takeout because you're too drained to do anything else, you aren't just spending money, you are spending your potential. The system wants you in this state. A tired worker is a compliant worker. A stressed person is an impulsive consumer. When you are exhausted, you don't look for the exit. You look for the nearest comfort. And those comforts usually come with a price tag that keeps you locked in the race. In America, we've been taught that wealth is the ability to buy whatever you want. That's a lie. Real wealth is the ability to say no to whatever you don't want. It's the ability to walk away from a toxic boss, a soul-crushing project, or a city that's draining your soul. If you have a six-figure salary, but you have no margin, you are just a high-income pauper. You are one bad day away from a total collapse. This realization is uncomfortable. It's meant to be. But once you understand that your exhaustion is a design feature of the economy, you can stop blaming yourself and start looking for the door. In the final section of this audit, we're going to talk about the quiet exit. We're going to talk about how to stop fighting the system and start quietly refusing to bleed out. So, how do you break the lock? How do you step outside of a system that is designed to consume you? The answer isn't a bigger paycheck. If you've followed the math so far, you know that earning more usually just leads to spending more, taxed at a higher rate. The answer is a radical shift in your internal accounting. We call it the quiet exit. The first step is establishing a one-income foundation. If you are part of a dual-income household, the system expects you to spend both. It wants you to bid against other families for the most expensive house your combined salaries can barely afford. Don't do it. build a life that can be fully sustained by only one person's income. Take the second income and treat it like it doesn't exist. That money is your war chest. It is your get-out-of-jail-free card. Use it to kill debt, build liquidity, and eventually buy back your time. The second step is the quiet refusal. You have to stop participating in the lifestyle arms race. In America, we use our cars and our zip codes as shorthand for our worth. It's a game played by people who are deeply insecure and financially fragile. Driving a 15-year-old Lexus with no monthly payment isn't a sign of struggle. It is a sign of immense power. It means you own your commute. It means the bank doesn't own your mornings. The third step is understanding that liquidity is freedom. A $400,000 401k that you can't touch for 30 years is a paper asset. It's nice, but it won't help you tell a toxic boss to shove it tomorrow. You need cash. You need FU money. Having 6 months of living expenses sitting in a boring liquid savings account is the greatest psychological safety net on earth. It changes the way you sit in meetings. It changes the tone of your voice. You aren't a beggar anymore. You're a volunteer. The system wins when you crave more. It loses when you decide you have enough. Success in 2025 isn't about how much you can buy. It's about how much of your life you actually own. It's about having a low burn rate and a high freedom rate. Most people will finish this video and go right back to scrolling, looking for the next hit of dopamine to numb the Sunday night dread. But if you've stayed with me this far, I suspect you're looking for something else. You're looking for the exit. The American dream isn't dead. It's just been moved behind a paywall of high-interest debt and systemic traps. But once you see the math, the wall starts to crumble. You don't need a miracle. You just need a plan, a little bit of discipline, and the courage to look boring to people who are drowning in debt. My name is Bond. This was a forensic audit of the $100,000 lie. Tomorrow, we're going to dive into the boots theory, why being broke in America is the most expensive mistake you can make. Stay sharp. I'll see you in the next one.